Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Queeneth. Today we are going to be drafting a basic trouser block. First, we are going to be marking 3 inches from this top line. And 3 inches from the side as well. On this pattern, we are going to be drafting both our front and our back. That is the reason why I made this 3 inches margin at the top and by the side. From this top line, from this line here, we are going to be marking the length of the trouser. So whatever length you want to work with, you're going to mark from that line. So for me, I am heels of 43, which I have already marked. If my paper is short, so I had to extend it. This is my 43 inches and this is the room for my hemming allowance. So after you've marked the length, we're going to mark now is going to be the crotch. That crotch line, we'll be needing our hip measurement divided by 4. That is 40. 40 divided by 4 is going to give me 10 inches. And we're going to mark 10 inches in form of a square. So from this top line, we'll be marking the 10 inches this way. And you mark the length as well, 10 inches. So we're just trying to form a square with the 10 inches mark, with the 10 inches measurement. So this now is my crotch measurement. To get your hip measurement, you could either take the measurement from your waist down to your hip depth, like the fullest part of your hip, or you just come up from this crotch line by 2 inches. And you square it out. So now that we've gotten this, we are going to be marking our crotch extension. That's we're going to extend this part, and to do that you are going to use your hip measurement divided by 20. So mine is 40. 40 divided by 20 is going to give me 2 inches. So from this line, I'm going to mark 2 inches. And I'll extend the line this way. Now that we've done this, on this hip line, let me just write hip line. On this hip line, we're going to come out by 0.25. Why we are coming out by 0.25 is because you do not want your crotch area to be really tight. You need some ease at that point. So that is why we are coming in. That is why we are coming out by 0.25. Next, you're going to make a curve from this point to this point. So you could either make use of your curve, a flexible ruler, or a broomstick. What you need to do is to curve it this way. As you can see, you've gotten your right curve and you draw. But since I have a curve ruler, it's quite easier though. So I've done that now. The next thing we're going to do is to mark our waist measurement. The waist I'm working with is 29. 29 divided by 4 is going to give us 7.25. If you want a dot in front of your trouser, you can add 1 inch to that measurement. That's a 7.25 plus 1 inch, which is going to give us 8.25. But I do not want to add a dot in front of the trouser. So I'm just going to be marking 7.25. The next thing I'm going to do now is to come up by ½ an inch at this point. So this is for the waist to sit properly. And from this point, I'm going to connect to my curve to my hip line. So now that I've done this, to prevent any flap or bulge around the waistline, you need to come down from this point by half an inch or 0.75. I'm coming down by 0.75, and I'm just going to connect with my ruler. The next thing we're going to do right now is to create our crease line. To get your crease line, you are going to get the midpoint of your crotch line. So this is 12, and I'm going to mark the midpoint, which is 6. And this 6 inches, I'm going to mark it all the way down to the length of my trouser. And I will roll my line. So now that I've gotten this line, I need to get my knee length. So you either measure your knee length, or what you can do if you do not have that measurement is to take the length from this crotch point down to your full length, get the midpoint, then add 1.5 inches to it. So the midpoint of mine is So the midpoint of mine is 16.5. I'm just going to add 1.5 inches to it, and this is going to be my knee line, and I will square it out. What I'm going to do is to mark your knee circumference. Mine is 16. 16 divided by 2 is going to give me 8. So what I will do is I'm going to mark 4 inches on this part and 4 inches on this part. And I'll mark same at the length of the trouser, because this is a basic trouser. If you want yours pencil, you can measure and you mark. I'm going to just draw a straight line this way. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to connect this point to this point. And this is how I'm connecting it. This way. And I'll use my straight ruler to connect this way. Please remove all sharp edges. Remove all sharp edges. So now we are done with our front. Moving over to the back, from this center line here, we are going to be coming in by 1 inch. So I'm going to mark 1 inch here. And at this point, we are going to be coming in by 2 inches. I'm going up by 1.5 or 2 inches. So 1.5 is for people with a medium bum, but 2 inches are for people who have a bigger bum, to prevent their bum from showing whenever they sit down, so that the trouser is going to be really comfortable on them. So I'm just going up by 1.5 inches here, and I'm going to connect to this 1 inch point this way. So I started off with a green marker pen to prevent any form of confusion. So I'm going to be marking with a red marker. So I'll just retrace this, because this is going to be our back pattern. So I've drawn the line back. So So I've drawn the line back. So from this point, this line is where we're going to be marking all other measurements from. So to get our crotch measurement, we are going to be dividing our hip by 10. You know, for the front we divided the hip by 20, but when you're drafting for the back, you're going to divide your hip by 10. So 40 divided by 10 is going to give me 4 inches. So from this point, I'm going to mark 4 inches. This is where my 4 inches stopped, and I'm extending this line this way. Then I would also come out by 0.25 at this point, then use my curve to connect it. So I'm eliminating every sharp curve. So this is it. Then the next thing I am going to do right now is to mark my waist measurement. The waist is 67.25. The back is going to have a dart, so I'm going to add 1 inch to that 7.25, which is going to give us 8.5. So from this point, I'm going to mark 8.25. This is how I'm slanting it. So this is where 8.25 lies, and I'm going to come up by ½ an inch. Why I'm doing this was because the front I came up by ½ an inch, the back I need to come up by ½ an inch so that the waist is going to sit properly when you're joining it. So I will just connect these lines this way. The next thing I'm going to do is to mark my hip measurement on my crotch line. So from this point, I'm going to mark quarter of my hip, which is 10 inches. So this is the 10-inch mark here. So I'll just need to extend these lines this way and the hip line this way as well. So this is 10 inches. This is 10 inches. So I measure from this side of my paper, distance from here to this point, and I have 1.75. I will just mark same 1.75 up here so that we can get an even line, and I would connect my line from this point to this point. Add ½ an inch from my knee downwards. So I'm going to add ½ an inch here on both sides, ½ an inch here up to the hem of the pattern, and I'll draw my line. So I'll need to connect from here to this point. So I'm just using my curve to connect these lines together. Then I'll do same for this side. With my curved ruler, I'll connect this point to this point. Then lastly, guys, we are going to be putting our dart. So we're just going to look for the midpoint from here to here. That's 8.25, the midpoint of 8.25, and this is it. So from this point, we are going to be marking our dart. The dart length is going to be 5 inches. For the back is 5 inches or 5.5, depending on what you want. But for the front, it is 4 inches. So I'm just going to connect, and the dart legs are going to be ½ an inch on both sides. So guys, we are done with our trouser pattern. So for the front, I made use of a green marker pen. The back, I made use of a red marker pen. So what you just need to do is to trace it out. These are my tracing wheel. So this is fabric tracing wheel and this is for the paper tracing wheel. So if you do not have a paper tracing wheel, you can make use of the fabric one.
However, this one has sharper tips and it could tear your paper while trying to trace if pressure is applied on it, unlike this one which has blunt tips. So you can see the difference in both of them. Also, in order to trace either the back or the front, whichever one you choose, you need a pattern paper or a tracing paper. A pattern paper is this brown one that I used, or you can get a white one. Then a tracing paper is quite transparent. You can just place it on top of this already existing pattern and you see the lines, you just trace it out. But if you're making use of the brown one, you would have to place your paper underneath this one, then you trace all round, and that's it. So guys, thank you for watching. I'll see you in my next video.